Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are delighted to have you here with us today in order to talk about digital and to be able to go through some great, I would say, use cases. So why are we doing this session today with all of you? First and foremost, because many of you asked. And not only online when we had the interaction, but also when we were together in Berlin at the conference. And we wanted to make sure that we are able to, I would say, answer your question. It's true that nowadays AI is everywhere. We called this session from your boardroom to your living room because we wanted really to transmit how it is I would say, navigating throughout professional life, personal life. However, we wanted to do it with one lens, which is actionability, and that no matter if you are in corporate, if you are a coach, if you are you have your own business, small enterprise, big enterprise, if you work, you don't, we wanted this to be useful for you. Now, why is it a topic that we like to bring in the P&G Women Alumni Network? Simply because when we look at numbers, we are still a little bit frustrated, okay? And why we are frustrated? Because in fact, today, every week, there is 700 million ChatGPT users, only ChatGPT. So imagine all the others, okay? And among that, 22%, you have 22% lower women that are using the tools than men. And in fact, on a daily basis, only 34% of women are using it versus 43% for men. So not that it's a problem, and I'm sure we will really close the gap, but we felt this is still a topic we want to bring to the network. And who better than the P&G Alumni Digital Forum to partner with us together in order to bring this into motion. So today we are very well surrounded. We have two fantastic experts with us, Kini and Elisabetta, that are both coming from, I would say, the world of data, the world of content, the world of commerce, but with really the lenses of AI and how it is transforming everything we do personally or professionally today. Now, interestingly, and thank you very much to Lingaro for powering our webinar today. And the little story about Lingaro is that it was founded by two P&Gers. And it's always very nice to see from generation to generation, I would say, company founded and now having young talent coming and all of us together. So it was Sebastian Stigers and Thomas Roguki that co-founded the company. And the idea was, at the time, they were really pioneering how data can transform our life. Okay, and today, I mean, the legacy of Lingaro is about data and making where we are, we have a common ground with among all of us today is that we use data, we use AI, we leverage the tools in order to create actionable results for us in our daily life or in our business. So we are really, really delighted and thankful to have you here. And to really welcome Elisabetta and Kini with us. If you don't know me, I'm Sophie Bloom. I'm the Vice Chair of the P&G Women Alumni Network. I'm working with a full team, and I'm here on the behalf of our chairwoman, Luan, and the entire team to moderate and get ourselves started. Now, few logistics. We want this to be as interactive as possible. So if you look on the bottom of your webinar screen, you have a box that is called Q&A. over there, please put your question, your comments, what you want. We'll have plenty of time after each section in order for you to ask questions and give comments. This session is for you. You will have tons of tools. You will have also resources. And after the webinar, we will send out all these links and materials so that you can have access to everything. So that's a little bit the rule of the game, that we want to make sure that you are fully equipped. Now, of course, I mean, if you have any question as you go, I will read them and we will pause to answer so that you have really everything answered at the moment that you want to answer them. If there is a topic we didn't cover, I mean, I know some of you that are attending today, please feel free as usual to jump in. We love it. We have decided to talk about two main topics today, or at least to get started on two main topics that I found really fascinating, that have really transformed for those who were in our last one when we did the AI, we called it our AI companion, that has really transformed the way we do business, or we even go do our personal shopping or personal activity system, which is really the prompt aspect. How do we prompt? You would tell me, Sophie, I mean, do we really need to learn how to prompt? I would say yes. Yes, you know what? Because it is evolving, because each day that passes, prompting becomes even more sophisticated. And as we say, as good PNG, garbage in, garbage out. So if we don't prompt well, then we have no chance to have something very sexy at the end. The second thing is I wanted to ask the expert to give us a little bit, what's coming, to equip us so that we can be a little bit at the forefront and to see what's coming, be it agentic AI, be it the trends, be it just to give us a glimpse on the future. So that's more or less the program for today. I hope that you are excited. And without further ado, I want to have a chance to start. So, in order to kick us off, I want to make sure that we have a little bit, we are grounded into what's going on today, what are the various AI usage, how important is prompting, but with your personal, I would say, eyes and your practice of tools, I would love that, Kini, you would tell us a little bit, I would say, how you view prompting today.
Sure. First of all, hi to everyone. Nice to see a lot of familiar names as well. So glad the word was small on PNG side. Sophie, so I think to answer your question, I would say just a little bit of background for everyone before we jump into the exact tools. I would say AI today, I mean, it's in the news everywhere all the time, right? So everybody's talking about it. Sometimes it's being referred to, as a lot of hype. There's questions around, ROI of AI. There's questions when it comes to, concrete use cases or investments, etc. We're not here to talk about that today. But I think the one undeniable fact is, AI is here today already. It's not about AI is coming. If you think about it, the funny thing is, a few years ago for me, AI was only, in science fiction movies is where we thought about AI. Today, if you look at it, 90% of people with an internet access have used AI in one form or another. And I would say 2/3, I think 66% of those people quote to use it regularly. Now, I think the really interesting thing is very few of those people, like most of us probably, have received, formal AI training. So that means that a lot of it is coming from, proactive usage, from people being interested in it. So there's a real, a consumer pull and need for that to happen. So I think that's the real interesting thing here. And the main question people ask themselves, of course, is, well, being submerged by those millions of tools and use cases, et cetera. So I think the main question people are asking themselves, of course, is what are the tools available and how can I use them in the best way possible? So to prompt. And I think that's what we're going to focus on as well, and tell you a little bit more about with Elisabetta. But I think the intent is also, to make sure that moving down the future, we believe that, it's going to be second nature prompting. And just to give you an example, maybe it's just personal, but if I think about, nowadays, everything that's second nature to everyone, smartphones. If you would go back in time and give, our grandparents your phone and say, here's a phone, order Uber Eats tonight, something similar. It was an impossible task. What is a user interface, a touch screen, an app, a connected payment methodology, so all of this was science fiction, right? And nowadays, we all know how it works. We understand the principles behind it. Kids grow up learning it. So what we do see is a future in which, prompting is also second nature. And we'll talk a little bit about, prompting from a actual typing perspective, but there's many different interfaces we can, double click on as well as we move forwards.
Already a good perspective. Now, if I want to try to get the best way, the best learning on how to prompt the best way possible. Okay, so just would you be able to, I would say, guide me? Because, when I think about it today, we say prompting. I mean, at the end of the day, it's questioning. Okay, and in our professional life, we know that a great, I would say, strategy or a great plan starts with the right questioning on understanding the who, on understanding the positioning, on understanding the plans. So and we have, in order to do that, you have the fundamental question and so on. Today with AI, I mean, first it goes very fast, and we need to practice, if I may say, almost on everything. So do you have some maybe advice and best practices on how we can best prompt? Maybe Elisabetta, you have some thoughts for us?
Yeah, sure. And hello, everyone. So yeah, it's a super good point. And actually, it's really the fundamental to get started. And, there is a framework that we use a lot, and it's very simple. So the advanced user, please don't run away, because as Sophie mentioned, there's always opportunity to learn and stress test what you already are doing great. But it's RTF. So the acronym stays for role, task, context, and format. Always wonder why the C was not in the acronym itself. But the point here is, it's a way to really ground your prompt to touch on the key things that you want to say. So for instance, you definitely want to start with setting the stage, as in what role you would like your output to look like. So imagine if you were just going to ask and prompt in the machine, create a marketing strategy for a new, sparkling water. Now, if you're lucky, maybe you get something that is actually useful, but in most case scenario, you just get frustrated because you keep going back and forth with your machine until you find the output that you like. So really take this prompt rules in a way to be more efficient with the output that you want to take, and great quality output. That's a bit the point. So let's make it concrete example. So if you wanted to have a better prompt versus what I just mentioned, you would first start with the role. So you are a marketing analyst specialized in Italian CPGs, let's say sector. If that was the concrete use cases, there is a context, and you have a client, an Italian beverage company that needs a go-to-market strategy, and you're very limited, and they have very limited data, consumer and market data. Now you go with the task. So what do you want the machine to do concretely? So you want to provide a detailed analysis of that, sparkling water market, and including, key competitors, trends, as many data points that can really help your client. And then you want to go in with the format. So you don't want the machine to spit out anything unstructured. You want to have a structured analysis and report. So the format is structured report format with clear heading for each sections. Now you prompt this into the machine, and your output would look much greater than the first prompt that I've shared. Just a caveat here, of course, as you move into more advanced prompting technique, you will see that sometimes you need to refine this. So this is really the foundation. For instance, you might see that along the lines, maybe adding even an example of the output or how you would like the output to look like is also very helpful. So you can also add that. I would share maybe 2 resources with the people in this room, which would be one, what I leverage a lot is if you have Copilot, a prompt coach agent that is a preset agent embedded in Copilot, which is great because sometimes either you're a bit tired if your prompt just doesn't come out, or you just want to stress test what you have already created, then you put it in with the bonus of adding eventually also business context. So you have a file that you want to kind of leverage for that prompt, and then the agent upgrade your prompt essentially, or help you to create that. That's great. There will be also an immediate practical guide that we can share with you. Maybe I'll pop it in the chat if I may. Let me see if it's there. Or you let me know. If not, we can share it with you later on. This is also a very useful guide that you can immediately use. So yeah, I hope I answered that question. The acronym and the
so that's terrific. So let me try to really summarize so that I get better. So I need to prompt with the role, the task, the context, and the format. Okay. So I ask, in fact, the agent to be me. That's what you are saying. Okay. That I love it. And then I love that if by sometimes it happens, rarely though, that I'm exhausted. It's possible, with travel and so on. Then I have a new friend. So it's my prompt copilot agent coach that is helping me to write a prompt, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't have Copilot,
I love that. Wow.
And if you don't have Copilot, you can also engage and create an agent with some of your AI tools. But we'll talk about this a little bit later.
That's super cool. So in the chat, I mean, I think that not sure. Probably Luan, you have, yes, super. Thank you, Luan. So you see, everything is live. So now we have the chat open for everybody. But don't keep the chat for all the resources we give you. And keep your Q&A for the questions. Okay, so great. Thank you, Luan. And again, don't hesitate to put a bit of, I would say, fire in the questions and interact, give feedback. This is always very helpful. So already now I have made progress. I have a coach in case I'm a bit tired. Now, let's say that I ask the coach to be me. Very good. Especially in a world where we say you're not going to be replaced. No, so that I have superpower. Now, what are the other capabilities or concrete use case that our, I would say, audience might don't know yet about? So you have some other maybe use cases you want to share with us?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So let's frame it down the line of generalist assistants. So let's think about ChatGPT, your Pilot, you have Gemini, Grok. Those are the ones that we see and we mostly go to. The thing is they evolve very fast. So sometimes to keep up with that pace is also a bit difficult. And so we want to leverage them at the max of their capabilities. So there are a few things that we recommend, and maybe not everyone knows in the room knows about them. So we talked about the assistant and how they can help you. So did you guys know that actually this AI assistant can take different roles and perspectives? So for instance, if you wanted them to act as your financial auditor, you could also prompt and ask your AI machine, you're now my like an official financial auditor, review this balance sheet through the lenses of that. And you could even add content and documents to ensure that the roles that the machine is assuming is actually trustworthy and well-funded. I think this is very important because it really enforces the framing, the constraint, and the style that you want the machine to answer you. It can really help you to go a little bit beyond the basic function of summarizing or translating or whatever it may be. One thing that I really like, and it's about assuming different roles, is the opportunity to leverage. Now we mentioned Copilot earlier on. So Copilot as your private coach. Saying, for example, you want to sharpen your leadership skills. You have a new role, so you want to ensure that you're actually talking the language that is relevant to that new role. But sometimes it's not always easy. So you can actually leverage Copilot to become your shadow coach. So it's quite simple. So you just need, for example, a transcript from your meeting, which takes you literally 1 minute to set up in your Teams. And then you can ask Copilot to analyze your performance. So you had the meeting, then the Copilot review what you have, how you have communicated in that meeting, your speaking time versus peers, your interruptions, your clarity issues, or the listener engagement. Maybe I can do this after this webinar as well, just to see. And then if you've seen any follow-up questions from the attendees, and eventually this Copilot can generate for you a mirror report, which is great, with 3 super simple actionable adjustment. And the bonus of this is not only you can learn how the meeting went and how you can actually be better next time, but it can also follow you. So before the next meeting, you can always again upload that mirror report and ask, okay, based on my last mirror reports, on my last few reports, can you create a 15 seconds checklist so that I can go in with that mindset? And of course, over time, you can also compare your mirror reports and see where you stand and how you have improved. So this is really super cool. And so it becomes really your personal shadow coach, which is fantastic. And it's very easy to set up. I'll touch on a few more things. I know we have a lot of content, but one is the multimodality. So your question was, what are the new features that these AI assistants can offer? And this is great because we have seen ChatGPTs, but also Geminis and Grok and obviously also Copilot to be much better and much beyond just text as an input as well as an output. So right now, if you would upload an image or a chart or even a vocal message, the machine will be able to understand and then provide you with an output that is beyond just text. So for example, I don't know if many people here in the room are aware ChatGPT is now producing PPT and Excel as an output. Sometimes the formatting, we have to say, it's not always perfect, but it's definitely a great, starting point for you to then enhance it the way you want it. Google Gemini is now fully integrated with the full, Google Workspace, so it's also great. You can go from a prompt to immediately drafting that email because it can push it to the Gmail as an example. We were talking about the multimodality. One function that I love a lot and I leverage quite a bit is Gemini voice as an output. So I'm the mom of 3 boys under 5 years old. So definitely sometimes bedtime can be extremely chaotic and intense. So I've started to engage with Gemini in helping to come up with different stories that are very personalized. So we set it off like that because the light had to switch off. We read an amount of books that was unbelievable. So it was time to set them for bedtime. And in that way, we kind of prompted Gemini to come up with under 10 minutes personalized story with their names and their favorite things. So you can name pancake dinosaurs and who knows what. And in literally a couple of minutes, Gemini comes out with that full stories, which is perfect. Plus, it can read it out loud. So you will set up in your prompt. Now we know how to prompt it properly, read it aloud in a soothing voice, and that's great. So you can have it as a one-off prompt, but as we loved it so much, we then engage it in a way that we set it up as an agent. So we call it, in Gemini, it's called Gems, whereby so then we can create a series of those stories. And guess what? There's always more things that you can do. From the story, read it aloud, you can even create image out of them. So you can imagine how it can be really engaging and useful. Enough about bed stories. I will just mention one last, and we can move on to the next one. We talked about, custom GPTs. I think this is really important. You can actually create agents within those platforms. So we mentioned about Gems, which is the Gemini agent, and you have custom GPTs in ChatGPTs. Why it's really good is because you can add instructions, and those instructions set up the stage for a dedicated either workflow or a dedicated space where that project can be fully discussed. It has memory, it has set up rules that you have set at the beginning. So that's really fantastic. Go on and check it out. I think these are really super good, sources. I have one more, but I keep it in case we have questions, and we can move on to more content.
This is really absolutely crazy. I noted everything, of course. There are two that are very exciting to me, which are the Mirror Copilot, which is really the private coach. I mean, wow, this is really phenomenal. And then the bed story is just unbelievable. I love that. I mean, I hope that you took a lot of notes because this was really terrific. Thank you so much. Now, we have a question. So, I want to make it fluid and interactive. So thank you for asking. Question, is it easy to create those assistants? Any recommendation to do that? Any documentation or link to learn about it?
Yes, so we can definitely send some documents afterwards. It is easy. You just need to familiarize yourself, being very specific of what you want to get out. As we said, the prompting is crucial. If you need also some support, leverage those machines as well, right? So you can come up with what you would like to create and generate, and you ask the machine, this is actually meant to generate a custom built agent. Can you refine that prompt for me? So we can send you some resources afterwards, but I think, yes, it is quite simple. Just need to spend a couple of minutes to set it up and test it.
So what you are telling, so go ahead.
No, I just want to ask Kini also if you had some additional input versus what I've said or in addition to what I said.
No, I think, some of the tools, materials we're planning on sharing with you afterwards, I think capture those. But then my advice is always, right, if you want to find out how to create it, ask the AI itself. In many cases, I've created many of these, asking the AI, I want to create this as a specific use case. I want to create this as an agent. What's the right prompt to do it? And in many cases, it kind of self-engineers itself, giving me that prompt. So if you have a question, the best place to start is always the AI itself.
Agreed.
I think that's phenomenal. You ask the machine about what should you ask it. So I think this is really for me the most exponential, I think, prompting advice we can give. So we'll continue. I see there is another question, but we'll tackle it a little bit later on. So as we continue, and I see that overall we are getting into I love it, into really day-to-day personal life also. Is there any other personal tips or tricks to get the most out of AI? When we had the call together, Kini, I mean, you were extremely exhaustive in giving me example and how AI has transformed your daily life. And we were together also talking about our own experience on how addicted we have become with this practice. Any other complementary, I would say, tips you can share with us?
Sure. So I wouldn't say that everything I do on AI is good to follow, but I would say few of them in terms of, it's very personal, of course. So I think when you think about prompting, the best way to learn it is by doing, right? So I think a lot of it is going to be very personal to your use case, to the way you communicate. So I don't think there's one size fits all beyond, the rules I think that Ellie mentioned before in terms of the context, how to prompt accurately in terms of context, how to provide, information, what format you want. I think that applies to everything. Then the rest of it is, I think, a little bit of a soft skill you learn as you go. I can share a few that are personal to me. So, take them or leave them. But what works very well for me, I think the first one is the low-hanging fruit. Might be a no-brainer to some people, but it's as simple as, if you don't know where to start or if you don't know what model works best, test them all. I usually have, when I prepare a prompt, I might prepare that prompt in Outlook or on Word or directly in the prompting tool. But in general, I'll copy paste that and test it on multiple models, multiple tools, and kind of get the answer that I like the most. In many cases, that's going to help inform me what model is best suited for me. But in many cases, I'll use multiple ones just to see which answer is best. Take one, maybe mix and match sometimes, and then go ahead. So I think using several is always good. And once you've done that prompt, copy pasting it somewhere else is super easy. So that's a low-hanging fruit, I would say. A few other interesting ones. I think one is memory. One interesting feature, and without getting into details of memory, of remembering your chat history, etc., is more of a contextual memory of telling these tools what you want them to remember about you. So I'll give you an example. For me, Gemini is my go-to tool, to be honest. I love the way, you know, it thinks. We're a fit, we're a match with Gemini. And what I do is I set it up not to remember things like my name, my job, the city I live in, but the way it interacts with me. So I ask Gemini, for example, and it remembers to be answered in a direct, no nonsense, concise way. You know, sometimes you get those flattering answers. Oh, you're right, great idea, amazing. You know, good for my ego, but that's not what I'm here for, right? You know, we're here to learn. So I ask it to answer in a no nonsense way, and more importantly, to always apply constructive criticism and ask clarification questions. So for example, when I prompt or ask for a task, it doesn't run into the wrong direction. If my prompt is not clear, it's going to ask me, tell me more about this, tell me more about that. Do you have an example to share? So it's like having a conversation with somebody who tells you, you know, let's double click on that before we go a step further. So I think that's, for me, probably what works best. If I had to share one tip, it's mainly that one. Maybe a third one, which I call natural language, is the beauty of AI, for me at least, is it makes me so efficient because of there's no filter, right? If you think about communication and you know, human context, of course, there's a lot of when it's written, you have to think about the formatting, the email, the language. Sometimes you have formulas of, you know, politeness, and you have politics, and you have so many things to consider. Or sometimes maybe you're new to a topic and you don't want to sound dumb and want to research it first. Well, with AI, there's no judgment. You know, you can make typos. You can not be an expert on the topic. You know, you don't need to have any formulas in terms of how you talk to politeness. It will get you and it will answer you. So I think that's the beauty, is using natural language to move on very quickly. And for me, this is extremely personal. But many cases you'll hear people say, give tips about prompting and say, you shouldn't do this or you should do that. And one thing they say many times is, don't use please and thanks and you're wasting time. For me, it's quite the opposite. Simply because my natural language, the way I communicate, is, you know, interjectory words, yes, thanks, please, So I actually use those in my prompts. Funny enough, I'm going to have a real discussion. So when I get an output, I'll say, that sounds interesting. Not because it adds value to the actual prompt, because that helps me input as quickly as possible. So I will literally type at the speed I'm thinking. I don't have to think about rephrasing it for the AI. So I think that's something that works extremely well for me. And then whenever I have any doubts, for me, ask away. Like we just said before, you know, if you don't know how to create an agent, ask the AI. For me, that's the number one rule. When I don't know about something, when I don't know about what AI can do, I keep asking it, you know, every week when there's new capabilities, what can you do? If I want to know how it can do it, if I get an answer and I want to dive deep and understand the methodology behind what online research do you do, you know, is that based, is that coming from your training data set? So if you want to know what, why, or how, just ask, and peel the onion. And in most cases, you're going to get to the bottom of that. So in a nutshell, I would say those are my tips. Personal, of course, but if you had to try one, I would highly recommend the memory one. Tell it how you want it to reply to you. If you don't know where to set that up in the tool, again, ask it, say, I want you to remember this, and it will either remember it or tell you where to access it directly in the tool.
I just love it. You see, this is unbelievable. It's never speechless. That's what is cool. This is really funny. I mean, you never have someone, a machine in front of you that is speechless. So that's really cool. Now we have few questions, and I want to ask you to move toward a little bit a certain type of use cases with clients, and related to we have one question. So I suggest we try to answer it with your use cases. There is one question on good AI for social media content and for social media content planning and for visual generations. And one on content creation and media planning and buying. So it's I see we have some marketeers here that are interested about also some of the professional, I would say, use of AI and some advice. So I'm interested to incorporate that into maybe some of you see clients every day. You are seeing the transformation of clients' requests and needs and challenges, but also things that are moving well. Can you share a little bit with us the most frequent use case that you are seeing, and maybe answer through this the question?
Sure. So, I mean, we saw a lot in different areas, but we're going to focus on mainly, within the scope of commercial analytics. So that's, marketing, et cetera, as well. So, love to double click on the content creation part. To tell you a little bit about the key things are that we see within the industry, I would say right now, the biggest trending topic is probably AI search optimization, and that touches on content a little bit more. That's more finding content, so we'll park that. But I would say probably some of the biggest cases that we see are like generating insights with AI, corporate, or training video creation. So when that comes to how to use avatar or automate, of course, content and training material, and then probably maybe one of the biggest ones is when it comes to content and image creation. So that's right on the question that we got in terms of what are the best tools out there now. I'll never tell you best tools. There are so many tools, and they all depend on your use case. How you're set up, what data you have, how you operate. So I don't think there's one size fits all. But what I can tell you in terms of image generation, it's constantly evolving. So whether that's e-content, social media, etc., it's basically under the hood one and the same. So I'll try to answer with that in mind. So I'll tell you it's highly evolving. There's many good tools out there, and we can share a list of those as well. You can test and try, but as I said, they differ by use case. I would maybe categorize them in two. I would look at if you're working in an enterprise use case, so big company, you want to generate high volumes, scalable content with consistent right assets, and you have to run that at volume. In that case, I would probably recommend looking into open source models. So open source image models, I'll cite Flux as an example, FLUX. We can post it as well and share that. But that's, for example, a good open source model in terms of images. Now the good news is you'll see, thanks to AI, we need to be less and less technical as well. So Flux, what does it mean being an open source model? It means you can build on it. It's not closed source like a Gemini image generation or ChatGPT. It's open source in the sense that you can build on top of it, and you can do that in a non-technical way, right? I'll give you an example. There are many platforms nowadays that play that facilitation role. Replicate, to cite one, or Hugging Face, which some of you might know, that host these models for you. So in the cloud, they host them for you and offer an interface, a UI if you want, that you can use. You can use that to pre-train, for example, big, let's say, open source models such as Flux. And I'll give you an example. You're a brand that wants to upload a specific brand character, or I don't know, your pack shots or whatever it is. You can use those tools to kind of train them in a quick way, which is uploading 20 images of your packaging, or 20 images in different angles of whatever brand character that is, to train it, light training, of course, and make sure that all the assets it outputs moving forwards are consistent with that. So that's what I would say, which is probably highly recommended if it's a more consistent, large volume enterprise use case. So a lot of solutions are built around open source models to be more flexible. Then if you look at the other use case, which is you're maybe smaller entrepreneur or small team individual, you want to experiment, I would say the closed source models are a great place to start. So OpenAI's image model, Google's image model, or the Nano Banana, as a lot of people have been seeing lately over the past few weeks. Those are great places to start. And to be honest, they're catching up in terms of capability. So consistency in the past was an issue with these. Now they're pretty consistent. If you tell them, here's my brand packaging, generate another image with that brand packaging in it, they do a pretty good job. And what I keep telling most of our clients as well is, down the road, 6 months, 1 year, whenever that is, they might just be so great that they might be able to do everything we need. So my advice would be keep playing with those, try those. They're at very good level in terms of brand consistency today. The only maybe limitation there is you'll have to prompt it on a project by project basis. You have to give it the right background. Here, upload your images, please make sure you keep these in mind. So I have to do it project by project, chat by chat, so it's a little bit less fixed and consistent. But I would advise starting for a new user there. And then for more advanced use cases, looking into open source models, if that answers your question. And by the way, maybe because I put myself in your shoes. That's something I've, as a brand marketer, come from there as well. Creating content. One thing that can be frustrating with many of these models, whether they're open source, whether closed source, whether they're even custom-made, off-the-shelf software solutions that are oftentimes built around these base capabilities and tools and models. Many times you'll get something which is imperfect, which is amazing considering it's being created from a prompt, but you're still missing that that last mile. What can be great there? I would highly recommend using something like Canva as a tool for that last mile. Canva, which many people might know from PowerPoint or creating presentations. Canva has a great capability when it comes to their, I think it's called their Magic or AI suite, which enables you to upload images, flat images, and modify them. So that means it can create layers. You have a one picture of I don't know, a person holding a product with a claim, whatever it is. It can destructure those, so create layers, extract the text, extract the pack shot, extract the person. So you can change every individual step element of that image. So for last mile solutions, I would highly suggest test different image models, even if they're OpenAI, ChatGPT, etc. If you need a last mile solution, test a tool like Canva to kind of get exactly where you need. But I don't believe today that there's one tool that end to end masters all of it. There's many tools that claim to do that, but I would highly recommend test them, get started in a small step, public models, and then try Canva to do the last mile. I hope that answers the question and the audience.
Thank you very much. That's very unbelievably empowering. Any perspective from, let's say, media planning or buying, something that you have maybe already tested with some clients?
In terms of tools, I think we need to look to, I think that's probably also in the list of materials we share afterwards. I don't have one top of mind that works best. In many cases, they're more horizontally integrated. So they're old players that operate in the space that add an additional AI model, a module for media buying. But glad to touch base on that offline, share some recommendations there as well. So don't hesitate to reach out for that, of course.
I think that's great because, in fact, that's also a way to continue. I would say going forward. So now, what I wanted to touch base a little bit is, are we seeing some I would say challenges in adoption, but instead of spending time on challenges, which we have challenges, all of us, otherwise it would be 100% of the people using it. I'm more interested to a little bit to understand what is really key, I would say, to adopt those tools, or at least to, let's say that we are adopting because we are here together, so we want to adopt. But how can we be even faster? And I mean, what are the use cases that maybe have created a wow moment for each of you? And just to, I would say, to help us focus.
Yeah, I can take this one and
yes, Elisabetta, go ahead.
To build on top. I think so. I'll share my personal experience. So I started off being a little skeptical, not because I didn't like to learn about AI or new tools, just that sometimes schedule can be extremely busy already. So finding the time just to dedicate yourself to that learning moment can be already a barrier. So. And maybe many people feel that way, so that's why I'm sharing this personal experience. So one thing that I would really suggest, and to me was really the turning point, was focus on. So start small, focus on one repetitive task that you have in your schedule. Like it can be ops, it can be home, it can be at work, anything. And think about how can you make that task faster. One repetitive task that you have every day at work or at home, and focus on how AI can help you to make it faster, more efficient. Just that. And for me, what really was like, I was really, blown away was when I was working on a project management for a project itself. And I just turned on the transcript for that meeting. And to me, automatically being given a first draft of the minutes was amazing. Like, you know, you spend quite a bit of time to refine it, and you will still do, but, you know, you save maybe up to 60% of your time. So that was really great. So you start to see this more as an enabler rather than a barrier. Another one that I loved, and it was extremely simple when we embraced Copilot, was really to have your own coach. So I'm Italian, obviously, so sometimes we do typos, syntax can be a bit messy. So having that Copilot to help you out and set the tone, so you actually can not only rewrite it or synthesize it or make it more concise, but even just reframe the tone a little bit, which is fantastic. So focus on one small task, you will see the wow, and that it would really empower you to then move to the next level, I would say.
I love it. That's really helpful. Any other one, maybe one wow for Kini you had maybe?
Sure. I mean, so many, but I know we don't have time, so maybe let me focus on. I would say probably, like you said, I think the wow tools are the tools where, because adoption is, you know, key. If you use a tool that doesn't bring you value the first time, you might not come back. So I would say for me, there were a few that were eye-opening in terms of I used them and immediately they were easy to use and they brought me value. And I was like, wow, this is something that's going to change my life. Several, but maybe one to focus on is a tool I love by chance called Lovable, which some of you might know. It's basically no code coding. Think about it as vibe coding. So that means from prompt to a front end tool. So think about if you want to create, for example, a website, an app, a dashboard, you have a business idea you want to bring to life. This is great because it enables you from a simple prompt to bring to life an idea. And that can be something as you know, complex as you want to launch, you know, an FX, a trading platform. It can be, you know, a dashboard for specific analytics. It can be whatever you want, a tool, an app. This is great because in one sentence or one paragraph, you just input it and it creates that for you. You can build on it. And this is not just for show. This is actual working code, which they can actually deploy and then build a tool out of. I love this. Why? I think both for private users and then more in a corporate sense is amazing. Us, for example, we are a, you know, we don't provide software. We don't do software. We don't sell, you know, off-the-shelf tools. We do custom-made solutions for clients, right? So that means in many cases having to do things from scratch, and that means in many cases talking to multiple different stakeholders on, you know, marketing side, sales side, everyone with a slightly different view and vision and different data sets. So when you try to bring to life their vision, it's always doing something from scratch. So in a traditional sense, you know, it would have been trying to understand what they want, then translating it to technical requirements, sitting down with our, you know, IT and technical team. What can that look like? Building, you know, an actual initial mock-up with our UI, our UX team. It's a long and complex process. It takes time. Now with a tool like this, I can, within an afternoon, bring to life, you know, what that could look like. So an idea to actual showing it. You can show that to, you know, in our case, your clients and understand, is this what you want? Model it with them. And then two, it helps also, you know, the technical teams because you have something to start off. So it's not just trying to understand your vision. It's here it is. Let's work on this. So I think it's an amazing tool, both professionally and privately. There are so many other tools I could spend time talking on, to be honest. We'll share them in the list. I'll just call out Notebook LM. If you don't know about it, it's going to be in the list. I would recommend double clicking on that because it's an incredible research tool that can deliver a lot of value to you.
Sounds absolutely exciting. Now, I have a question here that goes a little bit into, which is, what is a good process to test a new tool? I often have the feeling that I only use at very low level of the potential of the tool when I test. Say it differently, what is key to run a good test with a new tool? You know, sometimes it's a little bit like, you know, you use, let's say, I don't know, Copilot or chat to write an email. Okay, that's maybe better than you doing it by yourself, but it's so 0.01% of the capability. So what would be your advice in order to have a good process to test a new tool?
Yeah, so I would say it's a good question. I would say, first of all, what tool, and we'll share resources in terms of where you can find new trending tools and the best tool by topic. So you can look into that. In general, I would split it into two. If it's a vertical tool, that means a specialized tool on a specific use case. In most cases, if you've identified a specialized tool for that, for example, image creations, that's a tool that's focused on that. In most cases, you're very clear already on what it is you want it to generate for you. In that case, what I would suggest is what is the ROI for you? So what are the KPIs? Define for yourself. You already know what the output should look like. What would delivering value for you be? Would that mean doing it in much less time? And then how much time is that? Would that be doing something that you don't have the capability, the ability to do today? And this tool can help you do that. So if it's a vertical tool, I would recommend, where you're an expert on already, is you should be able to define the KPIs and the ROIs by which you measure, is this adding value to me or not? And then I think the challenge is much more real when it comes to horizontal tools or the generalist tools, right? The ChatGPTs of this world. For those tools, I think the challenge is many times is you don't know what they can do, right? And as Ellie was mentioning before, there's always new capabilities popping up. In that case, I think there's two ways. One, which is, staying in touch and seeing what people are sharing and then trying it. Or what I would say is trying. I've asked the model many times, I'm curious about a specific use case, and I'll say, how can this be done? Or can this be done with AI? And then I have an exchange with the model. Is this a use case that you think you can provide value on? How do you think you can provide value on this? So sometimes it's just going down a rabbit hole. Sometimes it's exploring new ideas and use cases directly with the AI. But I think, unfortunately, the short answer is the only way is to test. And in many cases, you can also ask the model, what would good KPIs and ROIs be to measure content creation, media, or whatever your specific use case is.
Thank you very much. Very helpful. Now that we are progressing toward the end, would like to look a little bit into the future and what's coming next. Okay, so we read a lot of stuff on, for example, agentic AI. We are reading also, people are asking questions. What is it about? And can you give us some, I would say, perspective so that we are equipped to look at what's coming next and can start to practice a bit and to maybe use it or start to get familiar with what's coming out next. Would you share some highlight with us, maybe Ellie?
Yeah, sure. So great question. And agentic AI is really everywhere. So you touch a very hot topic. So I think the direction is, and we see also in some of the new features that these AI platforms are providing us, are slowly but surely going into the direction of a certain level of autonomy. And that's what agentic AI is about. So the idea here is to move from the input to output to something closer to a digital teammate. So put it simply, a machine that actually can understand and be proactive and go from advice to execution much smoother and without you necessarily having to prompt the machine to do something. So autonomy, thinking, and agile adaptation, I think, are the key elements here. We see quite a bit already in terms of autonomy and being autonomous into the coding and I would say the DevOps world. I think we recently read this report by Google saying that 90% of developers are now using AI for coding. We also see it in a certain way into the research assistance kind of world, whereby you have ChatGPT research, I think it's called. You also have other research kind of agents that can really pull out in autonomy report that maybe takes 30 minutes to pull out and provide it to you in the format that you want. So they are kind of autonomous in that sense. We see some pioneers as well. So leveraging agentic AI, I think Amazon is also doing some experimentation by supporting sellers in certain ways, be it like supply chain or reordering stock or prompting certain things or providing input in a more proactive way. But we are still kind of far, right? So I think what we're gonna see next, not very far from now, but we're not there yet, since we're still in the POC, I would say, scenario is maybe three things. One is on the continuous task management. So whereby a series of agents, they broken down by small tasks. For example, they can work in autonomy to complete a specific task. So saying, for example, you have your own budget, marketing budget. Now we were talking about social media, so let's imagine like advertisement, and you want to provide that budget and give it to the machine to administrate that budget for you at the best of its capabilities. So I think giving certain guardrail for sure, and still maybe maintaining a level of human check will be key. But that's a direction that I think is coming next sooner than we think. So continuous task management. Another possibly area where we see coming next these agentic AI is agentic commerce. So how, for instance, shopping agent can proactively support you. So saying like in your own, life, you would see sometimes running, groceries and stuff, but what your agentic AI could act as your agent. So tracking your household needs and then automatically reordering those groceries through Amazon. If you have already your shopping list, maybe just, tapping yes, go ahead and move on. One thing that probably would be super interesting to see, and I don't think we are very far from that, is we probably didn't talk so much about this, but intelligent insights, how nowadays you can actually leverage, AI to support you in reading data. So imagine instead of having your Excel or your dashboard just by you going through the data and come up with the what and the why and what's next, already with intelligent insights, you are entitled to talk with those data and understand, how do I read this data? What is not performing well and why? So the machine is reading, providing those output. But what if the intelligent insight would go from, what is happening and recommendation, and then actually autonomously eventually move on with the action. So that's I think the great opportunity. No matter what, I think definitely it's coming soon. So we just need to be prepared, and the capabilities are building up. So I think it's something that everyone should already start thinking about, and definitely at the organization, at the organizational level, see what is going to require as a framework to be prepared for that agentic AI.
So that's pretty exciting. Would that mean that I can create Sophie's agent autonomously?
Yes, maybe giving some guardrails. I don't know what would you put the guardrails for?
I love it. I love it. It was not so long ago that one of our dear CEO told me we need mini Sophies everywhere. So you see, I didn't think I would have a chance to talk to you and that you don't think that I'm completely out of my mind. You are kind enough in front of many witnesses. In front of many witnesses to say, you know what, that could happen. Look, I'm going to ask the last question so that we can conclude. I cannot, I would say, not ask you, given the discussion we had, what's coming. Any trends, any, I would say, emerging trends that are coming next that you feel like are really going to I would say transform, and maybe one or two, you can do one or two name dropping of tools that we can just also drop with friends in order to look like, we understand what's coming. And then prepare some Q&A if you have some questions, and we will conclude just after that.
Sure. I'm glad to take that one. So to keep it brief, I mean, we could talk about many again, but we have a little bit of time. So maybe trends, to touch on trends, and then maybe one prediction, which is something interesting that's happening in the industry. Maybe in terms of trends, I think one word that can be interesting to keep in mind for the audience is, the keyword probably 2024 was, LLM, a lot of new AI words being, thrown out there. I think one thing that you might increasingly hear is MCP. You don't need to know what it stands for. Model Context Protocol is basically going to give open source, being standardized kind of way of tools to communicate. What does this mean in layman's terms is moving forwards, a lot of the challenges was, of course, about data. For AI to perform, optimized services, it needs to have access to data, right? The challenge was your data sits in so many different places, you use so many different tools, that's very difficult. Now with this open, standardized system called MCP, tools are going to be able to talk to each other in a much simpler way, meaning you're going to be able to do end-to-end use cases. To give you an example, Ellie was mentioning Copilot before, right? From a Microsoft standpoint, the reason why I can give you so much information is because the infrastructure is based around one and the same provider, right? So it has access to your emails, to Outlook, to Calendar, to Teams, etc. Now in the new world, hopefully, thanks to this, tools are going to be able to interact in a much more simple way. So you might be able to ask a tool to analyze your past quarter sales data, identify, the most profitable customers, draft a new blog post for, those consumers, and it's going to access all those different tools, whether that's Tableau, Salesforce, WordPress, Google Ads, whatever you use in your ecosystem. So moving forward, that's probably a trend that we're going to see more and more. Now, that might be a little bit out of the reach for, the standard human. So what I would recommend there is maybe it's not fully the same as AI. It's more on the automation side, but there's tools such as Zapier, which have a very simple consumer logic in terms of if then, meaning you can define a number of actions that happen. If this happens, then do that. So that helps you, for example, put together a workflow that says, for example, when somebody reaches out to me on LinkedIn, for example, download, extract, their contact information, look at their profile, put that into an Excel list for me, create a dedicated email approach for that, add a follow-up in my calendar. So whatever action it is you want to happen, Zapier, and we'll share the link, of course, is a tool that helps you very simply put together those kind of actions and automate it. So in the meantime, while the industry thinks about, finalizing the tools talking to each other and this MCP part, you can start playing around with Zapier already. I think that's a very helpful thing. And then to answer your second question, Sophie, on future forward-looking, hard to predict. So don't quote me on this one. I wouldn't go bet my money just yet. But I think what we're seeing is also augmented AI when it comes to the hardware surrounding AI and how that can improve the AI experience, right? We've already seen some things which are coming to consumers very quickly. If you look at Mark Zuckerberg, I think it was last week on Meta, revealed the new glasses with a wristband that enables you to kind of prompt interact with the glasses through the nerves in your hand. So think about it as prompting is not just words anymore and voice prompting, but also through hand stimulation prompting. You could take it a level further and look into things like for the science fiction fans out there like me, Dr. X, Magneto, for those of you familiar with those references of controlling things with your mind. There are already examples of neurogaming, so controlling games with a headset, or the next level, Elon Musk's Neuralink, of course, implanting chips into people's heads. Of course, mainly the use case of let's say paralysis, etc. But those have successfully proved to be able to prompt through the mind. So you have examples of, I think, a senior patient who was able to play chess, Mario Kart video games directly by prompting it via his mind. So we're not there yet. We're not going to be there tomorrow immediately either. But I think it shows a little bit the direction we could go in when it comes to what's prompting 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. So I'll pause there because I think we're a little bit over time.
No, we are okay. I love it. I think that I want to conclude on a note that is I'm currently working with a foundation on really curing rare disease where we use AI in order to find the right treatment that were not necessarily planned for that. And this nonprofit called EveryCure, if you have a chance, go and see the TED of the founder. It's online, it's phenomenal. I think this was for me, and yes, indeed, it is about what AI can bring to science in order to bridge a gap of the real world. The real world in medicine is 18,000 diseases, 4,000 treatment, 14,000 with no chance. AI is enabling matching and pairing treatment that were not designed for the disease, but that could solve the disease. So I'm just giving this example which is absolutely phenomenal to save life and to, of course, improve life, because for me, this is what the future of AI is. And today, I want really to thank you for, I hope that you have enjoyed the actionability and the pragmatism of Kini and Elisabetta today with us to help us navigate on our day-to-day, but also to give us, I would say, a way to look at AI in order to create a better future, a better tomorrow. And this brings me to the beginning, which is the P&G Women Alumni and the P&G Digital Forum are here in order to empower all alumni to go to their next chapter and to foster opportunities and grow their career. And frankly, today, thanks to you two, and of course powered by Lingaro, that is all about, I would say, enabling and connecting and making it data and digital actionable. I think we've spent a little journey on that path. So I'm just checking, we don't have any question here that is not answered. So I want to thank all of you for joining, to thank you too for really being with us. I want also to take the opportunity to thank Lanka. Lanka has been, the one orchestrating and helping us to organize this session. And of course, our chairwoman, Luan, for making this possible. So thank you to all. You'll receive via email all the tools, all the reference that the team has been kind enough to share with us. And just see you soon, maybe between agents. Have a great continuation of the day. Thank you very much to all. And we'll see you soon for, I hope, a new perspective on the forums. Take very good care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.